r/AskReddit by Redmond ETS. What's the rudest thing someone has said to you for no reason whatsoever? When I was a freshman in high school, a guy who I had never met before came up to me and told me that I was the ugliest thing he had ever seen, and that I needed to crawl into a hole. A week later he asked me out on a date. I told him I was too busy looking into a hole to crawl into, and he needed to F off. My oppa once said to me, "Why would you cut your hair? You look like a little boy now." I was going through chemo at the time, and he was well aware of that. You know, you'd be a lot prettier if you weren't so fat. I was in 4th grade. F you, Jessica. I, 71, was walking with my 25-year-old granddaughter in a very busy mall parking lot last summer. We were holding hands. She likes to protect me. A strange woman going the other way, about 40 or so, was pointing at me screaming, "You're a creep. A dirty old man. She's much too young for you. Freak." My brother-in-law went through something similar with his daughter. He briefly thought about getting a shirt that said "I'm her daddy," but he realized that would give the wrong idea. Not nearly as fricked up as some of these other ones, but it's stuck with me. 9th grade, Valentine's Day, got my first kiss ever at school when my boyfriend and I exchanged little valentines. Of course I was so happy. The bell rang, we walked to class and he gave me a quick kiss again as we split up to go in different directions. I'm sure I was clearly smiling. 2 seconds later this girl in my class who saw goes, "Are you kidding me? Even she has a boyfriend and I don't?" Now that's forever the memory associated with my first kiss. Not directly to me, but while I was standing right next to her. 5th grade, I didn't have friends. I was awkward and nerdy. After gym class in the locker room, the girls were discussing who would room with whom during the class trip. Essentially the problem was, nobody wanted me in their room. Finally one of them said, "Look, she just needs to sleep somewhere. She can be in our room. It doesn't mean we have to talk to her." Turns to me and smiles and says something like, "Sorry, no offense." Yeah. And the thing is, I was even grateful that she accepted me into their room. I am a naturally thin person. I am 41, 5'3" and 102 pounds. The amount of people that have something unkind to say about my body is unbelievable. Do you ever eat? Oh my god, eat a sandwich. Are you vegan? With a heavy dose of snark. I'm not, by the way. Just wait till you have kids. I have 3. It'll catch up to you eventually. I'm now over 40, but I don't look it. The amount of people who body shame is disgusting. These things are usually said to me when I am working, bartender, and I have to be very careful to control my face or voice. I was raised if you can't say anything nice, say nothing. Rude. Edit. Also the amount of people who strike up diet converse with me, asking if I'm keto, or paleo, or whatever. I usually nod and smile and let them talk, but when they press me to participate in the converse, I tell them I'm on the seafood diet. The converse dies right there. Lol. I was 18 and walking to work. My job was around the corner from where I lived. About a 10-minute walk maximum. A car full of teens slowed down and shouted, You're freaking ugly." It's literally stuck with me ever since, and I'm now soon 31. No one else has ever called me ugly, but I guess once is all it takes. I was 15. My friends and I were at the mall just wandering around. A guy probably in 40s comes up to us and goes on about how ugly I am. I mean, full on telling me that I'm hideous and he would never want to be seen with me. Never seen this guy before in my life. My friends and I were just standing there in shock since it was just so weird. He wasn't yelling or angry, he was just calmly saying that I'm too ugly for him. He only left after a Hot Topic employee came out of the store and told him to leave or he'll call security. He left. Never saw him again. Had just given birth to our son through emergency C-section. Back in hospital with C. difficile, and a new nurse walked in my room to give me a needle. She took one look at me and said, "I won't have any problem finding a fat part on you, will I?" She would look at me in disgust every time she was in my room. Every time my door opened I thought it was her and spent the rest of my stay crying or on the verge of tears. 18 years ago and I am crying now thinking about it. After I took a deliberate overdose, I ended up at the ER. I was loopy as fudge, but I do remember a nurse being rude to me. I don't remember what she said exactly, but it was along the lines that my suicide attempt made me a time waster. When I was in my early 20s I worked as a title searcher at county courthouse. I had recently met a nanny from the Midwest who worked at a rich doctor's house. After a nice date, she invited me into the house to meet the family that employed her. That evening the doctor she worked for had several friends over. She introduced me to the doctor and he asked what I did for a living. When I told him I was a title searcher, he replied, "Isn't that mostly a woman's job?" He and his friends all chuckled. It was so demeaning. In 1 second he completely emasculated me in front of his snobbish friends. It was okay though, as the nanny brought me upstairs to her room and we still had one of the best nights of our life. There was a girl in my middle school who called everything and everyone cute. She called the back of the head of a guy who was walking past the door one time cute. One day, completely out of nowhere, she looks directly at me and goes, "You're really ugly." I had some girls punch me in the head, call me a slut, threaten countless horrible things, all because I had a Hello Kitty bag. I'm a lesbian. A co-worker invited me to her 1-year-old baby's birthday and I declined. She replied in a huff, "Well, it's a good thing you can't have kids. Girl. Watch where you're going, whore." All I did was accidentally step on the back of his shoe in a queue. I didn't even know the guy. That's rather extreme for a snap reaction, even if he was having a bad day. He's probably a complete douche. You probably already know the familiar old song of "Go home where you belong, you shouldn't have climbed out of the tree that you came down from, monkey, get out of my country, I swear," and so on. The usual racist bull. I'm an adopted Greenlander who has been raised and am living in Denmark. Fortunately it's rare to experience for me. 99% of Danes are nice, friendly people. I swear? What does that even mean? Are Greenlanders normally dark-skinned? No, we're brown. It's just a derogatory slang term. My mother was looking through old school pictures of me and my siblings. Looks at one of me and says, "Goddamn, I never realized how ugly you were till just now." That's all folks. Thank you for watching. If you like videos like this one, why not like and subscribe for more? Have a nice evening.